They're doing this. They snuck them in here in Harlem with no transparency. We coming out and we see bunk beds being moved in. What's going on? And nobody was aware that this was happening. No one.
How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about a very interesting news clip from Fox News in which they speak to New York City residents about the migrant crisis. Now, I don't know what the disconnect is between the mayor, the governor, and the residents. The mayor appears to still want to have the sanctuary city status in New York City. The governor appears to want to have the sanctuary state status in New York State. But at the same time, they're talking about how there's a problem with the migrants, there's a migrant crisis, and they don't want the issue there. So you could start by revoking the sanctuary status of the city and the state. You could start there. And the residents, I don't know what's going on. Maybe they have not voted for these people. Maybe they did. And if they did, I want to know if they know what they campaigned on. And I want to know if they're going to vote the same way next time. Because if we vote the same way next time, what we're saying right here doesn't really matter, although it's true. Now, we got to check it out because you got to hear what they're saying. This is going to be much different than what some of the elected officials and talking heads are going to say. And if you want to see the full clip, of course, link will always be in the description. If you're on IG, visit a link in the bio, go to the corresponding article on the website. But without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
You said you couldn't believe that he's doing this during Black History Month.
Well, when we say he, not necessarily the mayor, it's the city. DSS and DHS. They're doing this. They snuck them in here in Harlem with no transparency.
Now, at a certain point, the mayor has got to be responsible too, because the mayor, he's involved, the city, they're involved, everybody, all elected officials, all people that work, all people that have a hand in this must be held accountable.
We coming out and we see bunk beds being moved in. What's going on? And nobody was aware that this was happening. No one. I reached out to every elected official in the 70th Assembly District, and no one knew anything.
Ruth, do you believe them, the elected officials, when they say they didn't know what was going on?
No.
They can't not know what's going on because they are the ones responsible for coordinating what's happening. And, at a certain point, it is their fault. You are an elected official. You are brought on to do a specific task. And when that task yields a bunch of these migrants to the tune of 170,000, I believe, since summertime 22 in New York City alone, when that happens, you guys who are in power have to know what's happening. And if you don't, then why don't you know? It's your job to know.
It was a surprise to them.
I don't believe that.
So what's been the reaction from the people of Harlem?
Well, of course they're upset. They're outraged. I mean, they've been overlooked for so long. How do you think you would feel if you have a brand new luxury building, as they describing it, and people are living sometimes 2 and 3 generations in one apartment, and now you don't even want to give it to them. You want to bring outsiders in. Like, what does that look like? You got to take care of the residents that are already there.
And that's 100% correct. And before she continues, you have the mayor announcing, maybe he did, maybe he didn't do it, but announcing some budget cuts in the city to pay for the migrant crisis. So not only are you giving these brand new luxury buildings to the migrants, sometimes schools that are active to the migrants, hotels to the migrants, money to the migrants, you're also keeping the taxpayers paying the same level of taxes or more while giving them fewer services for it. Now, I'm not saying you got to be relying upon the government, relying upon services, but I'm paying my taxes. So if I'm not to rely upon these services, give me some tax money back. You can't have it both ways. You can't say I'm going to take maximum tax dollars from you and then not give you maximum services as a result. That's not how that should work.
Sufferings. We can't do that any further.
Gilda, pretty much all of my friends that are in the city live in Harlem. And Harlem is a particular community.
Yes.
And they're already struggling when it comes to the education system. You got poverty rates there. You got black businesses that can't afford certain things. Was it a slap in the face to say, we have no resources for you, but we have resources for the illegals?
Well, absolutely. And just to know some of the statistics, There is 1 in 4 people of color in New York City that are rent burdened. And in Central Harlem alone, it's 44% of people who are rent burdened, which means a third of their income goes to rent. And in our community, we see our neighbors being displaced. We see our friends and our families being displaced because they cannot afford rent. So we were glad that Mayor Adams came to both of our community forums on Thursday and on yesterday.
I mean, it's good it's going to the forums. It's good that he's reaching out to the community. But what are we going to actually do about it? What are you guys going to do about it? Because if he's not getting it done, if he's not performing properly or well as a mayor, then what's going to be the next step? What are you guys going to do come election time next time? Are you going to reelect him, although he's not doing a very good job? Are you going to vote for somebody else? Are you going to vote for another person that will do the exact same thing that he did? What are we going to do going forward?
And so we are having a healthy conversation with him, as well as some of the other city commissioners, to rectify and remedy what has been going on and what is going on with 2201 Adam Clayton Powell Jr. Boulevard.
Unbelievable. So, Leslie, part of the reason why this is happening is because New York decided there was going to be a sanctuary city. Joe Biden supports that. The mayor, the city council supports that. Do you feel like the overall policy is just a bad idea? Because when they decide to be sanctuary, they tend to send them to black and brown neighborhoods.
Yeah, I agree to that. Because they wouldn't send them downtown, to interrupt what's going on down there. Up here, we have no say-so of what goes on anywhere up here.
Now, remember, they sent like 8,000 of these migrants to Queensbridge housing projects right there in New York City. And remember, going to Massachusetts now and Martha's Vineyard, when I think it might have been DeSantis sent the migrants to Martha's Vineyard, within 24 to 48 hours, they were all deported to a military base out in the water. They were out of there immediately. But in the community, hey, these are your new neighbors. Don't be racist. Don't be hateful. And that's pretty much how they're going to carry it.
Yeah, they tell us at the 12th hour so that we can't, cause confusion about what's going to happen.
But what about St. Nicholas houses?
Oh, but St. Nicholas houses, we have 3,000 units plus, and we are being moved. We are under modernization. We can use those places to put the seniors in. We can use it to put the people that are handicapped inside so that they don't have to move to the neighboring project so far away.
Daryl, give me the legal perspective on this, because how are they said they're not going to follow federal law right now. What do you want to be done from a legal perspective?
And the federal law would be alerting people alerting DHS of the migrants' immigration status. Basically, he's talking about they're going to remain a sanctuary city and state.
Well, I mean, an injunction will be in place. It's interesting that in 2020, there was a hotel that was doing the exact same thing. And the mayor's office actually put in an injunction to stop that. It was a permanent injunction that was put in. And that was back in 2020. It was a 220 unit down there. And I was surprised to actually see and know that was there. So something should be in place. So nobody can say that they can't do anything. They can actually stop that and give the neighborhood what they want.
Ruth, I mean, you only get politicians' attention during election time. Do you think that if they don't change course on this, are the Democratic representatives going to pay a price because of this, or do you think people are just going to vote for him?
No. This is a pigeonhole. This is a sign to this mayor. Right now, your people are looking at you. You have an obligation to your own black community to make sure we have our needs met. Every other demographic takes care of their communities. Chinese, Italian, Jewish. When it comes to communities of color, specifically black, it seems as though they get paralyzed. Like, you have to speak to the narrative. We put you in position to help us. This will definitely affect any elections going forward.
Now, see, the problem, what she's saying is what she should say. But see, the problem is, in the black community, what we do, we just vote because we think that's what we're supposed to vote for. Okay, we're going to vote for a Democrat because a Democrat, because Republicans racist. And then when it comes to a specific Democrat, it's about who you might know, who you might like, who you recognize. That's kind of how it is. That's what happened in South Carolina back in 2020 when Joe Biden got a lot of the black community support. He was voted not because he was a great candidate, which he never was. It's because we recognized him from being Obama's vice president. We knew him already, or we thought we did. I don't want to say we, because I didn't vote for him, but people that voted for him, they recognized him. They thought they knew him. Now people are having regrets. Well, at a certain point, you got to take responsibility before you put someone in power, so these kind of things don't happen. Then you're trying to figure it out midstream. And then after it happens, you go out and vote for the very same kind of person. At a certain point, you got to stop and understand who you're voting for and why you're voting for him.
Real quickly, Tiffany, what about Joe Biden? Because he supports the same stuff as well. Do you think there's a price for him as well?
Of course.
Or just the mayor?
No, both. Both. It's time for action. It's time. We voted for you. I voted for Biden. I voted for Mayor Adams. It's time for action.
No more talk.
No.
Yeah.
Thank y'all so much. Tiffany, Gilda, Ruth, Daryl, and Leslie.
All right, so there we have it. That's what's happening with New York City residents talking about the migrant crisis and how the black community affected the most, and elected officials are not doing the right job by their constituents. Now, as I close, I want to say this. I'm going to reiterate, as I've been saying throughout the entire video, elections have consequences. If you keep voting for the same guys over and over, and you keep getting these results, you keep not getting anything for your vote, then you got to ask yourself, why am I doing it? What can I do to change the trajectory of my neighborhood, of my life, with things that happen in government? I'm not saying you got to rely upon government, but what's happening right now is 1000% government policy, and it could be changed by who you place in office. It's very simple, but I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? What's your take on what you heard from the black voters out there in New York City about what's happening with the migrant crisis? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. It's as simple as voting for the right people. You vote for the wrong people, you get the wrong results. Again, everything is not about government policy. I'm not trying to say that who you vote for is going to shape every aspect of your life, but this is policy happening. These are policy decisions. Sanctuary city status, sanctuary state status. This comes from elected officials, and it's impacting you in a negative way. So to reverse that impact, or to stop the bleeding, you got to do something different. And there's no other way around it. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.